Hey friends, I am not gonna lie, December is almost over and I am majorly stressing about getting my reading goal because last year I think my goal was 100 books and I ended up reading like 122 or something like that. So this year I was like, why not up the max and read 150? But it is now December, so there's only like 4 weeks of December and then the year is over and I am currently at 137 books. So I'm very stressed, and this is my TBR shelf behind me. And for the first time, I have space on that shelf because all year I did not buy any books. Like, I was on a book buying ban other than new releases that I really wanted in a series. But I actually read a majority of the books on the shelf. Anyways, all this to say, I still need to read 13 books and now I only have a month. So I am stressing. But the other day I sat and I read a book and then I had my husband come and pick out a book from the shelf because honestly at this point I don't even know what to choose. And he chose Invisible Girl by Lisa Jewell, which the cover is just so pretty. It is like this ice and a rose and all these things going on. But I started this over the weekend and I'm almost done with it. I'm like 3/4 of the way done. So I'm hopeful to finish this book tonight, but we'll see. And I have read only Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell, so this was one that I found in a little free library, and I was like, why not? I liked Then She Was Gone, even though it was super dark, and this one is not as dark, which is nice, but the characters have a lot going on, and it's making me really sad because basically the premise is you have all these different stories that are going on at the same time. So you have this woman that stays at home. She's a stay-at-home mom and wife, and she had accused her husband of having an affair a couple years ago, and so their marriage is a little rocky and they're still getting used to being together again and all these things. And she just has this feeling that there's something going on with her husband. And then you have her husband is a therapist and one of his clients is a girl named Sapphire. So you have Kate, the wife's point of view, Sapphire's point of view, and she's getting to know the husband as her therapist. And then you have this innocent man character named Owen, who simply is a teacher and he has done nothing wrong, but these two girls accuse him of sexual harassment, and so he's fired from his job. And then Sapphire goes missing and the one suspect is Owen. So it's very twisty, turny, and as soon as I started reading it, I did not want to put it down because it's really addicting. Like, the writing is just really quick, and honestly the font is kind of big, so it just, like, when you're reading, you just keep going to the next page. It's like the addiction of wanting to know what's going to happen next, and so I just keep reading, and I've been staying up way too late reading this book. My goal is to finish it tonight and find out what happens because it's also this mystery of what actually happened to Sapphire. So yeah, that is what I'm starting with, and we've got 13 books to go. So I have been doing a great job of reading and not a good job at updating the vlog because, like I've said before, but basically my routine is getting home from work and then journaling, doing my Bible study, working out, showering, eating dinner, and then reading. And by the time I read, I don't have makeup on, my hair is wet from the shower, and I'm in my PJs. So I don't really like to film when I'm like settling in for the night. So I have read all of these and I have not filmed a single one. So I am really sorry that that is just what my routine looks like now. But I do have 2 weeks at the end of this month where I am completely off from work, and as much as I can, I think I'm gonna try to read throughout the day, but we'll see what ends up happening. But let's get into my review of these because I've read quite a few, so there's a lot to update you guys on. And I now am at 142 books, so I have 8 to go, which is absolutely crazy, but it's also currently December 10th, so I'm getting a little bit more stressed, but I think we can do it. We're so close. First of all, I did finish reading Invisible Girl by Lisa Jewell, and honestly, I would probably give this a 4 star because I did really enjoy it. It was not as dark as Then She Was Gone, which is what I was nervous about, but I really enjoyed this one. There were some plot twists in this book, things that I was not expecting. So that was, of course, expected with a Lisa Jewell book, but also a really good surprise. So if you need a good winter thriller, I would definitely recommend this one. Even though it sets around Valentine's Day, it's in the UK and it's cold and dreary and gray, and it was just a really good, like, I could not put it down type of read. So I would recommend. Your Legacy by David Hodge, which, if you don't know, I actually work for Our Daily Bread Ministries for a podcast called God Hears Her. If you have not listened, go check it out. But every once in a while, they just have a ton of books that you can take, and this was one of them, and honestly, I actually enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I would probably give it like a 3.5 4-star read, and it's kind of going through the legacy that we want to leave in our lives, which could be a legacy of being kind, a legacy of being loving, and it just gives you like practical information and kind of a step-by-step for how to do that. But then the author also shares like his personal story and the things that he's been through and what has worked for him, what doesn't. And I really liked it because I also recently learned like about this thing called the rule of life. Basically, you create this rule of life for yourself and you like reassess every year and you just go through like what worked, what didn't. And I created my own rule of life, and one of the things that I wanted to implement into mine was like keeping in contact with my people, because a lot of my community is not like living close to me. So I intentionally once a week will like text or call someone, and I do other things. Like a lot of last year I was working on healing, and so a lot of my goals were like journaling out my emotions and things like that. And it's actually really cool to look back and see like my rule of life from 2024 and the things that I did accomplish, and then the things that I want to adjust for 2025, because it has been a year of growth. And it was also cool to just like track that information unintentionally. So this definitely reminded me of that, and basically just being intentional about your life and the kind of legacy that you want to leave for the people that love you. This I really wanted to read because of Emily in Paris. I'm obsessed with that show, even though a lot of people think it's dumb, but I have just always been a sucker for a show about a hardworking woman that always saves the day, always is dressed super nice. Like, that is my goal. So I love Emily in Paris, and I love Lily Collins. I loved her as Clary in The City of Bones, and I just think she's really cool. Like, she's been in a lot. So I found this memoir at a little library. I'm not gonna lie, it was probably a very average like 3-star read. It was not the best. Like, she's not a very good writer, and it was very cheesy. Like, usually I don't rate memoirs, but this kind of felt more of like a collection of essays, I think, and it was very random. Like, it honestly didn't feel very organized to me in any way, shape, or form. It was like the first chapter is about like life in general or something, and then the second chapter is like, oh, I was in an abusive relationship, and I'm like, okay, how about we get to know you a little bit more before diving into that topic? But I mean, she does address some really important things, like being in an abusive relationship and eventually getting out of it, and also her struggles with eating disorders and kind of overcoming and healing those. So I was invested. I did read the whole thing, but it was a little bit more cheesy to me, and she wrote this, or at least published it, when she was 28, and it definitely felt like she was in her young 20s or younger. So it wasn't a very like mature read, I guess you could say. I still enjoyed it, but it was a more average read and definitely not what I expected. Tell Me 3 Things. This book was just adorable. Like, this was a really fun YA read, but with a harder hitting element, because the main character's mom has died and her dad moves her to LA because he has just gotten married, and so now her mom's dead. She had to move to LA. She has step sibling, like a stepbrother and a stepmom, and she's in this crazy expensive house in LA. Her stepmom pays for her school, and it's this private school, and she's just very overwhelmed, which as anyone would be. But when she gets through like her first couple weeks, she gets this email from somebody called Somebody Nobody, and they start emailing, and nobody basically offers to help her get used to the school and show her the ropes and like tell her who to be friends with, who to avoid. And it's just really sweet. Obviously, as they talk to each other, they slowly fall in love, and at the same time she's crushing on this boy that she's doing a project with, and so the whole time she's really hoping that they're the same person. And it's very cute. It's a YA read. I was a little surprised by some of the things in this book, like definitely older young adult, I would say, but it was very, very cute. I did really enjoy it, and I would recommend. Like, it was just a sweet, fun little read, kind of a break from like the deeper, darker, heavier stuff. Like, it was just a light, good read. But I did enjoy the author at the end has a note about losing her mother when she was 14, I believe. And so the elements of grief in this book come from a real raw place that the author herself has been through. And I just always appreciate when authors have like personal elements in their writing, and I think it just adds, Emmy just jumped in front of the camera, my cat. Anyway, I think it just adds so much to the books. So the grief in this book is hard-hitting, and it just feels raw and real. And I think that just added a lot to this book, and it makes it memorable. The last one that I have read so far, So Worth Loving by my dear friend Erin Eddie Adkins, which ironically I mentioned the podcast earlier, and Erin is actually one of our podcast hosts, so I work with her very closely, and I loved reading her memoir. Like, I know a lot of her personal story, and most of what she shares in here I think I already knew, but it honestly just felt like sitting next to her and having her like tell me all of this. She really writes in her voice, and she's just truly like the real, authentic person, and she gets so raw and vulnerable in this book, and I just loved it so much because So Worth Loving, her brand, means a lot to me. And I remember when I first started at Our Daily Bread Ministries as an intern, I was super intimidated to meet her and Elisa, the podcast host, and Erin actually gifted me this book after we first met, and she signed it for me, which was so sweet. She left me this little note and signed it, and I just felt so special and so seen after learning about her work and just admiring her from afar, because worthiness has always been a struggle for me. Like, I've always struggled to feel worthy, and so this woman who has a brand that's all about letting people know that they are so worth loving is just like, it fits right in with my struggles and what I'm passionate about. So this means a lot to me, and it will always hold a special place in my heart. I even like annotated some of it, so that was fun. I haven't done that since I reread Beach Read, but I would have to give this a 5-star because it's my sweet friend Erin. That is all for right now, leaving off with 142 books. I am currently really excited because I had an author reach out to me on Instagram, and she sent me an advanced reader copy of her new book, Before They Bloomed. So I'm about maybe like 100 pages into it, but I'm enjoying it so much so far. So I will have another update about that in the next video, and I will give you the full review after I finish reading it. But I'm just enjoying it, and since it's on my iPad, I think I'm reading it super fast because I'm just like getting addicted and scrolling and reading. So it's going really well. I do really like it. I get kind of nervous when authors reach out to me, but I was like, let's do it. I haven't done it in a while, and I'm really enjoying it, so that's been going good. That is all for now. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you to everyone who watches. It means the world to me, and I will see you next time.